name is Jennifer Walsh, and I'm on a mission to get more people outdoors, to understand and share the health benefits of spending time in nature, to fully comprehend the power that green spaces in nature have on our overall health, well-being, and mental state. We decided to film the entire season at the beautiful wellness community, Serenbe. Their mission is to live and work in harmony with nature, connecting people to nature and each other, so choosing to film in this beautiful place was a perfect fit in every way. The conversations on my walk are open and lively. We speak to a cross-section of industry leaders, people with varied backgrounds, yet all share how their connections and time spent in nature have shaped their life and their work. Join me on a walk with Walsh. This season made possible by Mother Dirt, good bacteria for great skin. Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of A Walk with Walsh. I'm so happy to have none other than Pete Dominic with us. Hello.
I'm so excited to be here.
You're at Serenbe.
Back in Serenbe for the first time without my family.
How weird is that?
It's very weird because I'm always happiest when I'm with my wife and my daughters, and we stayed right here at the Stone Cottage twice, and so to be here without them is weird, but I have a lot of really happy memories right behind us.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Such a magical place, Serenbe.
It absolutely is. It's surrounded by so much nature and so many things that constantly give you feelings and memories and ideas.
Yes.
And peace.
Yeah. Oh my God, there's so much to talk about. So you want to go for a little stroll with me?
Let's go for a walk.
Let's go for a walk.
Isn't that what we're supposed to do
I think
here?
that's what we're going to do here. We're going to
All
walk
right.
and talk, and we're in nature. We're just enjoying the
This
scenery.
is an awesome idea.
Tell us where you're from, because for you, like the New York City guy,
Yeah.
and like New York guy, how did you get from that to like wanting to be on a farm in Georgia?
It's interesting because you have to wonder how anybody, what their journey is in terms of the places they live. It's always interesting. But I grew up in upstate New York,
Okay.
outside Syracuse, and what I like to call, for this conversation, the Finger Lakes region. So there's
Okay.
all these lakes,
Yep.
and I grew up water skiing and fishing in the summer, and I grew playing the creeks and catching salamanders and crayfish and
stuff.
frogs,
Yep, yep.
and then
Getting dirty.
we had BB gun wars. That's what we did. Yeah, it was insane. Yeah, we actually shot each other
You still have both of your eyes.
with BB guns. Oh, we wore goggles, of course.
Okay, good.
But
Phew.
and then in the winter, skiing, snowboarding, and so then when I was in high school, I knew I wanted to either be a ski bum, move to Colorado, and work in the recreational outdoor industry, or pursue a career in comedy. And I did the latter because I really want to live in, bright lights, big city,
Sure.
New York City. And I moved to New York City,
How old were you?
18.
Okay.
I was 18
Ooh,
when I
prime
first moved to
time.
New York City.
Yeah.
In 1995. And I lived there for 12 years. That's where I was when I met my now wife. And we lived there together for a few years. But during that time, I really lost my connection to nature. I was obsessed with my career. I
Yep.
loved being in the city. I was excited to be the energy and the people
Yeah.
and the industry that I was in. And I really lost, never fully, but it wasn't something I thought about. It's your
Of course.
20s.
Your 20s, and you're like in the city, and everything's about like go, networking,
Exactly.
and work.
Yeah.
There's no nature to talk about.
It wasn't a big part of my life. I try to get, in the parks in the city, I think, whenever I can, but it wasn't a priority because
Yeah.
I was the priority.
Yes.
And, trying to meet women and work on my career
Yeah.
and exercise, whatever, it was just your 20s. But then, anyway, after I met my wife, and we met in nature in the most beautiful place
Did you really?
potentially in the world, my wife and I met at a waterfall in Switzerland.
Oh, come on.
Top that, anybody? Who can top that waterfall?
I can't.
It's like we met in like The Sound of Music. Like you could like I can't ever get divorced
No,
because if I
it's too
do, I
good.
can't top that.
No,
I
you'll
can't be
never
like,
top that.
oh yeah, I met my second wife on the space station, which is unique, but maybe not as
Okay,
romantic.
Pete, wait a second. It can't be real. You can't. Like,
Yeah,
at a
so we
waterfall
met.
in
We were both
Switzerland.
just crossing. I had to let
crazy.
I'm sorry. I have to let the star that powers my home.
Yeah.
That was my way of sneaking in. I have
Okay,
solar.
okay.
Hit my dome because if the
Yes.
hat protects the scalp is getting the sun.
Yeah.
and-
You need a little sunlight.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm down
please.
here, down south, so got to get some of that. So anyway, we met in Switzerland.
Yeah.
And at this waterfall, and I made her laugh, and we
How
hiked.
did you do that? I wonder.
I
You're
did
so
what
shy.
I do.
Yep.
I was wearing a sleeveless shirt. I was in great shape.
Yep.
I took my sunglasses off. She saw these green eyes, and that was it. Is the
She
way I
knew.
like to tell the story.
She knew. Yeah.
No, I knew. There's a video of me saying, And my buddy says, what happened in Switzerland? And I said, I met the girl I'm going to marry. And I did marry her. Like
So
2 days after meeting her, 2 days after meeting her, I knew I was going to marry her. Yeah.
Wow.
And we had our first daughter in the city. And I knew then, shortly, I mean, you live in the city.
Yeah.
And I said, even if I had millions of dollars,
Yes.
I still don't want to have a life where I have to go down an elevator to take my child outside, and then when she's a toddler, I can't take my eyes off her because she's going to get hit by a car, and there's no nature like how I grew up. I wanted to raise my daughter in nature the way I was raised, so I was excited to move out of the city. And when my wife got pregnant with our second daughter, that's what we did. We moved to what we affectionately call the wastelands, the suburbs, the burbs of New York. We bought a raised ranch home for like $1 billion for what, you know.
Of course.
Where I grew up, it would be nothing. It would be nothing.
But outside New York, it's $1 billion.
But then that's when I really started to, I didn't want to leave the city, but I knew it was best for my kids.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's when I really started to rediscover nature. And now I'm 44, just turned 44. And so now I really want to move even further out and be even more surrounded by nature, which is why I'm so psyched to be here at Serenbe and with you and talking to you about it all, because my childhood in nature was amazing, magical.
Well, that's interesting because I love the fact that we're both here at Serenbe, and I come from New York, and I came down here and I just fell in love.
Yeah.
So being in a space like this, does this also like activate your creativity for what you want to do next in your life and all your next endeavors? Can you kind of talk about that?
Yeah, well, I think it's inevitable that if you're in nature, it activates your creativity, even if you don't, quote, consider yourself a creative person. And really, everybody is. It's just that society or school tells you you're not. But so being without distraction from screens in nature always creates a lot of ideas for me. But it also, more than it's helps me be creative, it helps me deal with stress and anxiety and even a little bit of depression. I'm not a depressive person. I don't have any kind of, but like environmental like things in your life. So I'm in a career transition and I'm trying to figure out my life, and being in a place like this just calms me, no matter what. Even if things are going perfectly fine, it just calms me. So I take a run every day outside, and that's at minimum what I'm going to get from nature. But I also am in my garden pretty much year round, and even in the winter I'm growing, from seeds under lights. So it's like nature inside.
You got that side of you. I had no idea.
Yeah. I'm obsessed with gardening. I'm not very good at it. I don't know what I'm doing.
But you're doing it.
Oh my gosh, there's a YouTube video for everything.
Have you made your own YouTube video about gardening with Pete Dominic?
I have. Yeah, I do.
Could be something.
I have some, but it's
just
the problem is most YouTube videos are kind of teaching people how to do. Like my gardening video would be like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I hope this grows.
Watch me do it.
Yeah. So no, I'm obsessed with it. That's my sanctuary, my garden, and it's as much as you get with. In the suburbs, Rich Louv, who I think you talked to here, is kind of my God. Yours too. We both love his work.
Gosh, he's incredible.
And he all of his work helped me decide that I wanted to, be outside more with my kids outside more and more of all the things I had growing up. But what do you do as an adult outside? And so I have this really cool garden that I love, and I have raspberry bushes that grow right up in front of my daughter's bedroom windows that they take for granted.
Of course they do.
But someday
they're kids.
They'll look back and they'll say, they'll be on a date. This is how I picture it. And there'll be raspberries, and they'll be on a date like, my dad. Growing up, I had raspberry bushes. So basically the whole thing is to set them up for conversation.
There you go. As one does. As a father does.
Yeah.
Thinking out what they're going to do on a date in the future.
To
and
give
how
them
cool you're going to be in their eyes.
Something to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that being, to answer your question, certainly it helps my creative, all my ideas about anything from work to, what's the thing I can say or do for my wife today, to helping me with stress, anxiety, just daily stress and anxiety, or, more serious stress and anxiety. My dad just had a heart attack. So, it's like, it's so hard to deal with life in general. And it feels like sometimes everything is just so overwhelming and so burdensome for anyone.
So
and anybody who says that that's not true, I'd like to see your internet history.
Yeah, you're right though. But you're absolutely right, because people don't talk about like stressors or just being like, God, this has been like, I'm going through a really rough time right now, because you also have to put this facade on. I feel like many of us do.
Yeah, sure.
But the reality is like, wow, there's a lot of stuff happening to a lot of people right now in so many different ways and variables that we all kind of push aside or hide, that we're kind of embarrassed to or don't want to put out in the public. But I think it's important that we all know that we're all going through stuff. And it's okay to say, God, this is really tough right now.
And it's okay to say it, and and we should name it.
Yep.
But it's also really important when you do name whatever is happening in your life, and whether you do it with a friend or whether you do it publicly on social media, which plenty of people do, it's someone is going to say, well, have you tried this? It's almost like, you know, when you get a cold, and someone's like, well, have you tried orange juice? And you're like, yes, of course, I tried it all, okay? If there were a cure for colds, that we would be, stop with the nonsense. But, you know, people are trying to help, but nobody ever necessarily says, you know, I've been really stressed out and always, you know, I guess we do. We give each other cures, but the point is that for me, this is it.
Yeah.
Like no matter what the problem is that's happening, I just go. I go outside. I say this all the time. I just run out in the woods. If I'm starting to have an anxiety issue, a panic attack, which I haven't really experienced too much of, but in the rare times, I just go right to this.
Yes.
And I look at it, and I'm just like,
what is that? How does that feel?
What these things are living, and what kind of and you just find any piece of nature anywhere.
Yeah.
And you and use all your senses. So right now I feel this.
Yep.
And I feel the sun, and I hear the birds.
Yeah.
And that's the other issue that a lot of parents, our generation of parents, has, is really being afraid of so many things when, in fact, everything is better for our kids than it was for us. I told you, we had BB gun wars. Now they have paintball. Okay, one is safer than the other,
but
everybody's
people are afraid
so
to go
afraid.
outside.
And for any number of reasons. You know what? I got hurt outside a lot.
Yeah.
I did. And it was all worth it.
I agree with you. I think that's the whole thing. We have to keep exploring, because if we don't explore our own backyards, how are we going to explore ourselves to go and do things that are different or unique that kind of scare us? I think.
Well, that's a really good point. And the other point is, if we don't explore our backyards, then we won't appreciate them, and then we'll let them be destroyed.
Yeah, yeah. I said this with Richard also. Like, we can't protect or love that which we do not know, understand, or experience. Like, we're not going to protect something that we don't spend time in because we don't know what it is. So
That's
if we can't
really
protect
profound.
our backyard, well, you know, it's so, because we can't go on the way we're going on. We kind of have to kind of step out of ourselves a little bit and just say, what's in my backyard? What is this leaf? What's going on with it? How does it survive? Look at diversity. How are we going to do this properly together?
Freddie the Leaf is a book.
Freddie eats a leaf?
Freddie the Leaf.
Okay.
You mentioned leaf,
Yeah.
and as you said leaf, I saw a leaf. This leaf is dying. It's dead, one would argue. But look at how many leaves have fallen off this. They're here.
Yeah.
And so when I was little, like many little kids, I was terrified of death. We weren't religious. We didn't have a kind of sense of faith or afterlife, so I was really afraid of death. My mom gave me this book, Freddie the Leaf, which is about a tree's leaves that keep falling, and you keep saying goodbye to their friends, and there he goes, and he's scared, but then when he finally falls, he floats down to the ground, and he falls into the stream, and he's enveloped by nature, and he basically goes back to the earth.
Yeah.
And it was the first thing that ever helped me understand and not be paralyzed with fear when I would think about my mortality or my death, and that's how I view it now. Like, I definitely want to be put back into the earth.
Yes.
And I've told my family, I was like, plant me and grow raspberry bushes out of me, and then eat the raspberries that are the fruit of my bounty.
They're starting to do that, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
it's a real
saw
thing.
HBO had a great documentary about it.
Yeah.
And about the different ways people are choosing to, have a funeral at the end of their life planning, and we're so afraid of that, especially here in America. We'll spend however amount of money we can to survive and never actually live.
Yeah, absolutely. God, that's crazy. But yeah, we can go down that path in a long, deep way. But I want to talk about also what you're excited about working on right now, because I know you are like in this new frontier.
I had a radio show on Sirius XM for 12 years. It was 3 hours a day. I interviewed 3 to 4 guests every day, and it created a great community of listeners who were like-minded, curious, passionate, fighting apathy and wanting to make the world a better place. And I'm doing that now on a podcast, and hopefully YouTube elements. So I don't really know. I mean, I'm doing this podcast, I'm experimenting with that, and it's the same name as my radio show, Stand Up with Pete Dominic, and who knows? We'll see what happens. I'm taping a new stand-up comedy special.
Good for you.
And we'll see what happens with that, and figuring it out. I would love to do something connected to the environment and nature. I mean, look at this lake.
I know. Isn't this incredible?
Look at and
it's beautiful.
so often our faces are buried in screens. I mean,
Yes.
how many hours a day?
Like this, and we're not even talking to just this all day long. You're right. But look
So you got to put it down and put it away.
Yeah, we really do.
And it's hard. I'm not saying, you always.
I know.
You always are wondering who's going to contact. What am I missing? What
Oh,
am I
the
missing?
FOMO? Yeah, of course.
But the problem with this generation of kids, and it's like my kids, I understand all of this stuff and I have this appreciation for nature, but my kids are definitely struggling. They're so addicted to their phones, and they're so enamored with the social media,
sure.
talking to their friends and everything. And it's not their fault.
No.
It's not their fault. I'm not blaming them, but I'm, as a parent, trying to make sure that they get a certain amount of vitamin N, as Richard Luke calls it, every day.
Yes.
And it's hard because I don't want to have a fight with them, but it's like, put down your phone and go outside.
Yeah. Eat a mud pie or two. I mean,
You with your mud pies.
I can't help it. They were delicious when I had them.
I just wish we had photos of you as a child eating
I might
a
have
mud
them
pie.
somewhere. It could
If
be
you
out
do,
there. I
you've
don't
got to
know.
put them on the next episode.
I will. I'll let you know. I'll definitely
Maybe
share
we
it
should
with
make
you.
some just to reminisce.
Yeah, we could. I'm sure they'd be delicious. I know how to make them just right.
So many fun things about our childhood in nature, and I just worry so much that I'm not providing that for my kids, and that they're not experiencing it, because it just, as we're talking, it just helps with everything.
But you're doing it. You're actually aware of it, and you're actually making them spend time
Yeah.
outside, because not many parents are even thinking about it, but you are. And I think that's a big difference.
Yeah.
Look how beautiful that is.
Big one.
Yeah.
I like the big leaves,
It's gorgeous. Look
and
how
I like
different
their
that is.
symmetry.
Yeah.
It's not unlike the symmetry in my face. Perfection.
Perfection. Look at that. Utter perfection. Ding.
Was the sun shining on my
Yeah.
head just right?
It's good. It's good.
Perfect.
Yeah. Your eyes look beautiful in the sunlight. He knows. He knows how to grab the light just right. He's like, look at me
More
here.
of a radio guy, but I'll do what I
Look at me
can.
here. Yeah. But I think you're getting them outside, and you yourself are exploring, like not just in nature, but like whatever you want to do. Like I think nature has helped you understand, like,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
I get to move on and do some new things, and I don't have to do one thing. I can do a whole bunch of different things. And again, that's our ability to kind of explore different options, especially as we get older.
Yep.
We've had a good storied past with lots of cool experiences. So what do we want to do next?
Well, one of the things I certainly want to do with what some element of work is save this.
Yes.
Save it.
Yep.
And try to make sure that we give our kids the same thing that we had. So through media or through policy or through activism, saving this from being overdeveloped and polluted is our responsibility. And I'm not going to lie, it really irks me when other people don't have that
Yes.
sense of responsibility with whatever your moral code is. If you're religious, of course, in every religion it talks about conservation and leaving things better off. Tribal people obviously understood that is their religion, and those of us who are very secular, of course, based on science and the future. Like, how is it not part of everybody's ethical code to not take more than they need?
Yes.
And don't get me on that economic argument.
We could go on for hours about that. It's
Yeah.
a whole different path, which could take us hours. But in saying that, would you really consider running for Congress or running for office in some
I
way?
did consider it. After I left SiriusXM, or they left me, really. I was sitting at home wondering what was going to be next, and I got an email from my congresswoman saying that after 33 years, she was resigning.
Wow.
And I was like, well, I'm not doing anything.
Why didn't I just do that?
And it seemed like a very symbolic at the timing of it.
Yes.
But I waited out, and I talked about it for about 3 weeks with a lot of people. And I don't think, while I think I would do a great job in Congress, I think that I can do a lot better. When I left Sirius, I wrote down 3 sentences. I want to save the planet, save democracy, and make the world a better place for my kids.
Yes.
And so one way would be Congress, but I think I'm more structured, and my strengths lie more in what we're doing now, media and communication and comedy and television, radio, podcasting, and hopefully highlighting all of these issues and creating awareness and offering solutions and inspiring people.
I think you can do a lot of that. A lot. Sharing your
so.
voice. And
Is my cape on?
yeah, your cape is definitely on.
Is it too tight? This is my cape.
There you go. See, a little color to it. Well, I think that's great. I
we go.
I think that's why.
Like
It looks
my cape.
good. Yeah, cape
It's
looks
my
good.
cape.
It's very
If people just tune in, they're like, this guy,
this
guy got a leaf. It's my nature cape.
There you
It's
go.
my planet-saving cape.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks good on you.
All right.
It's a
I'll
good-
leave
it's
it
a
there
good color.
then.
You just want to leave it there? Okay,
Yeah.
be colorful. Why
All
not?
right.
So what I think is really cool is that you're doing it, because that's kind of why I want to do these walks, is to speak with people and elevate their conversations of why do you want to do it? What is it?
Yeah.
What is important to you, or why is it important to you? And then we have to come together, and really, like you said, we have to come
Well,
together.
that should
and-
be easy.
Yeah. It should
No,
be-
you're
it should
right.
be really
You're absolutely right. My cape is itching me. But you know, creating unity around a number of the issues that we are divided on will never happen. But it will happen on issues that we're not necessarily divided on. And so when people fall in this tribal left-right hustle,
Oh, yes.
you're losing a sense of where you can work together on things. And it's just, for me, it's all nonsense. I have major issues with a lot of other people on any number of controversial things, but I have issues with my wife. She has issues with me.
Yeah.
I have issues with my best friends. I have problems. I don't agree with anybody on anything. My wife and I right now cannot find a TV show to watch together.
Oh, no
okay?
way.
But the point is, that's where
pretty funny.
you work on compromise. You keep
Yeah.
finding ideas, whatever it
Yeah.
might be, where you want to go to dinner. People don't agree on everything.
No, they
and
don't
these
have to.
purity tests are preposterous, and what is happening, how media and social media is dividing us. People need to be aware of this, and they need to realize that even though that person might disagree with me on the most controversial issues, from the science behind climate change to abortion or guns, all these hot button issues,
Yes.
well, what if that person can help me fix this engine?
Yes.
Or help me change a tire, or I don't know why I keep going to car problems. But whatever solution that we can work together on in our local community, much less on our planet, we can
Yes.
find ways to work together, and as you said, find unity.
Coming back to even like being at Sarah B, I feel like everyone here wants to come together here for a greater
It certainly
cause.
seems that way.
Doesn't it?
You
I
know, I mean,
know.
every time I do come to this community, you know, that's why it was designed, because it forces people where I live in the traditional suburbs in New York. Nobody talks.
Yeah.
Like, we don't talk to each other.
Yeah.
Our neighbors, our next door neighbors,
Do you even know who they are?
barely.
Yeah.
And then you come here,
Yep.
and it's designed for walking,
Yeah.
and it's designed for not only
Talking.
an interconnection with nature, but people are human animals, as we're learning in Rich Lou's new book, by the way. And you know, so you're connecting with animals and nature and plants, of course, but each other in a way that
Yeah.
it doesn't mean you have to be in some deep relationship with your neighbor, but everybody here says hello and smiles. And I'm always, every time I come down here, I'm shocked by that. I'm like, hey, what are you saying hi?
I know.
Easy.
Everyone.
Easy.
Everyone's
Hello.
saying hi.
Yeah, you don't know me.
It's
And I don't know you.
It's so
and,
true.
And, you know, we're New Yorkers. It's like people.
Why are they waving to me? They
Yeah.
don't know me.
Yeah, I don't have anything to give you. Well, I was just giving you love in that very moment. Oh, all right. Well,
And it's
shock me with
Isn't
some.
that sad? That's a weird feeling that you come here, you're like, what?
This is the way it's supposed to be. You're
I know.
supposed to be able to. You don't have to have so much space between every home. I mean, listen, if you do, you do. That's fine too. And people are going to live in boxes in the city as well. But this is a kind of a community that's one alternative, and I would argue, and obviously a lot of people would, but we need to build more communities that are like this one, that are walkable, where the neighbors say hello to each other, where you have food growing along the sidewalks,
Yes.
where you are just constantly connected to nature through all of these different trails
Yeah.
that are here. When I first came here, the very first night, the 16-year-old kid next door was just walking around on his bare feet. I was like, what's wrong with this kid? And then I
Poor
realized,
kid has no shoes.
oh no, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's me.
Oh, but it's like we're so programmed when we're not here.
Yep.
Because we've lived elsewhere and we grew up in a different way. But then we come here like, wow, this is the way I feel good. I feel really connected, like super connected to everything here, especially when I got here, the animals, which is really funny because Richard and I were talking about this as well. Just the minute I get here, I just want to see the animals. And then
Yeah,
everyone else
yeah.
is like, hi, how are you? Oh my gosh, good to see you again. And it's just that, like you said, connection to your neighbors, because I don't really know. I live in an apartment building in New York City. I know maybe like 5 people in the building.
Right.
Maybe 5. I've been there 10 years.
and 20 pigeons.
Lots of pigeons.
There's just not as much of a choice for wildlife in urban areas, and kids aren't getting that as well. And I'm obsessed with anything from a bug to a salamander to a bird to a cow. But in having that connection to other wildlife is also something that makes you realize that whatever your problems are, or maybe they're a little smaller. They're not as big as you thought that they were,
Yes.
and you realize for your kids that it's not dangerous out there.
That's it.
I see this kid walking around on his bare feet. My first instinct was, have you had your tetanus shot, son? But I mean, you can't be so terrified for your kids that they're going to be, these kids, they walk all over the neighborhood and the parents don't know where they went. And you say to the parents, you know where your kids are? Like, no. Well, why?
Yeah.
Well, are you worried about what?
Yeah.
In my neighborhood, my daughter walked the dog, and a neighbor stopped me, didn't know, and he says, "Is that your daughter?" And I said, "Oh dear, did the dog dump on your lawn? I'm sorry." He goes, "No, she's walking around alone. She's 8 years old." I'm like, "Yeah, what's the problem?"
So
and he says, "Well,
incredible.
she could get snatched." First of all, snatched.
See, that's
what kind of verb is that?
Yeah.
But
Yep.
he's worried about a kidnapping. A
Yeah.
kidnapping? Has there ever been one here? No, but no.
Exactly. That's the whole thing. Everyone's putting the fear they have onto everyone else, and that's the worst
Right.
thing for people.
Yep. And things are better than they've ever been, and
Yes.
most people are good. Most people are good.
Yeah.
Most people,
100%
believe it or
agree.
not, are not kidnappers.
I know.
You don't know anybody who's a kidnapper. You don't know anybody who's been kidnapped. It's not a thing. It's a very rare thing, and it's somebody you know. It's not a stranger. So let your kids roam. Let them run through the woods, and let them fail, and let them fall, and let them appreciate everything that is outside,
Yeah.
as opposed to keeping them wrapped in bubble wrap and
Yes.
microchip, which they all are. You know where your kids are at all times anyway if they've got a phone.
Exactly.
And that technology, by the way, is not always accurate. My wife and daughter were coming across the Hudson River on the bridge, and I lit up the app that shows you where they are, and there's
Yeah.
my wife's face on the bridge, and there's my daughter halfway up in the middle of the river. Just her face in the middle of the river. I'm like, swim, Ava, swim! And then they refreshed, and she was back on the bridge. I was like, oh, it was just off. It was just
It was just way off.
I thought she was in the middle of the Hudson. But that's another form of anxiety that technology is creating that is
Yes.
not necessary. What was I even worried about?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I was worried about. They're going to come home and the house is going to be a mess. My wife's going to kill me. I had to figure out they were
Limited
15
time.
minutes away.
To clean the house.
Yeah, that's why if my wife was in the river, I would be as worried. She'd give me a little extra time. She's a strong swimmer.
Oh my gosh. Well, getting back to that too is the fact that you're using our senses when we're outside. We're like addicted to our screens, or we're inside
Yep.
doing our
Yep.
work. We're just not activating our senses. So
And it's interesting that you said that, because I realized I've been holding this leaf for a long time, and I mentioned the kid in his bare feet. So our senses now, we can smell the air. It's a
Yes.
crisp fall autumn day. I love the word crisp to describe autumn.
Crisp. Yeah, crisp.
And we
I like it
can
too.
feel the trail under our feet, but you're not directly connected to it the way you were if you're in your bare feet, the way you might be if
Grounded.
you're riding a horse. You're connected to that animal. And I think that's why I had this leaf, because I'm just feeling it as I'm talking to you, and the sense of touch is directly touching nature, and even when the sun is on my skin, that's nature. And so just being as connected to it in as many ways as I can is probably a calming thing, a reassuring thing.
And you're
I don't
aware
know.
of it.
Smell.
Smells good. Yeah. Is it crisp?
That's my favorite thing about autumn, the smell of the
Oh
the
my
leaves.
God, the leaves. I know.
Not that that's
I know.
that original,
Well, even
but-
being here in Georgia,
Yep.
it's just such a beautiful time of year. It's just spectacular.
And I didn't know that this place existed, and then when I did, it's like, this is, if you can
can't
get
go
here,
back.
great. But I think what Steve Nygren would say, who designed this community, is that we want to build these everywhere.
Yeah.
If you can come and be here and live here and visit here and use this as a model, which is what I think Sarah and B more than anything else is, it's a model community. It doesn't mean every community has to be identically like this one. And by the way, this one is so diverse in terms of its architecture and everything. But this is one concept of biofield design
Yes.
that other people and other communities across the country and the world should consider. Renewable energies and all everything that comes with all of this.
Yeah, it's just beautiful. And thank you for doing this, by the way. Thanks for coming on the
Oh my
show.
gosh, this was so
Thanks
much
for
fun.
walking and talking and sharing
much
your
fun.
insights and your it's like a stand-up hour with you, which is kind of great, which is kind of nice. Is there anything else you wanted to share before we say goodbye?
Just do everything that you can to appreciate the natural world around you. And when things are becoming too much and overwhelming, think about running outside and think about that for your kids as well. And support important organizations like the Children in Nature Network, and get books written by naturalists and read about nature, the icons of generations past, and the Rich Louves and David Orrs of the New Nature Movement, Bill McKibben. Read about it. Come in nature and reading about nature is something I really like to do as well. So thank you for having me.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I loved having you a part of this. It really means a lot to me that you came down here and to share this, and it's been so beautiful. And I'm excited for what you're about to do next.
Me too.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
and,
you.
Do you have any Instagram? What's your Instagram?
Pete Dominic.
Pete Dominic.
Pete Dominic everywhere. Stand Up with Pete Dominic, the podcast. And I look forward to hearing from you. And thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for tuning in. Till next time, we'll see you soon. This episode of A Walk with Walsh wouldn't be possible without our sponsor, Mother Dirt. Learn more about all their great products.
Clean. We create habits around this word from the moment we're born. We clean ourselves, our kids, our homes, our environment so that we can be healthy. Are we? Are clean and healthy starting to become two different things? What about the kind of clean that comes with healthy, with being human, with thriving? Maybe that clean is something different.
And I want to thank our season partners, the Inn at Serenbe and Igni Productions. Continue the conversation by subscribing to our YouTube channel and the companion podcast available at Apple Podcast. Thanks again for tuning in. See you next Wednesday for more walks.